What? We're shaking your head for Mike Lowe.
Man. It is rough writing that check. You know, you're like.
You had a rough morning. Tell us, Mike Lowe. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
We love when you're here.
Yeah, my dog just got away a little bit, and he's Doug is big, so
Doug.
you can't like go get him and retrieve.
Are we in like boxers and running after him barefoot?
No, just sweats in a t-shirt.
Okay.
I asked about
form-fitting
Doug. Let me
t-shirt.
tell you about his dog. I asked about Doug, and he says Doug doesn't like to go for walks. Or maybe his owner doesn't like to
What dog doesn't like to go for walks?
Mine.
Yeah.
Doug does not like going to. He's scared of the
Honestly,
cars.
He's tailor-made for
He's
you.
scared of the car. He's having surgery this week, by the way. I know.
Is he okay?
Yeah, he's good. He's just got a little something on his paw.
Okay.
But
There are certain figures in our game who are larger than life.
yeah.
John Sterling has been a broadcaster for 64 years, the voice of the New York Yankees for 36, and he called it a career. And we just wanted to look back on one of the best to ever do it.
Stepping up to the microphone is the voice of the New York Yankees. Here is John Sterling.
Well, Susan, I thank you. And once again, good evening, everyone.
There it goes. Deep left, it is high. It is far. It is gone. It's an A-bomb. Baseball immortality. Burn, baby burn. And Capitan. All right. Here comes the judge. Ball game over. World Series over. The Yankees win.
Wow. The soundtrack to so many childhood.
Yeah. You know, baseball and the fandom, it's so provincial and regional, you know, and that's why play-by-play guys like John Sterling are held so closely by the fan base. So,
He said, I am so lucky to do this.
By the way, Cal Ripken, eat your heart out. He had 5,060 consecutive games.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
that's a heck of a run. Also an accomplished NBA announcer back in the day. I was pulling up, I did a little search on Mr. Sterling yesterday and some of his work calling Atlanta Hawks, Boston Celtics, Larry Bird, Dominique Wilkins. Some of his work was on YouTube, and just a great job.
An incredible year, an incredible career, John Sterling.
Congratulations,
Thank you,
John.
and congratulations on a career well spent. Wake it up, America. To Tropicana Field we go. Angels and Rays righty Zach Geflin did his job. 6 1/3 scoreless, gave his team the best chance to win. Struck out 5 over 6 1/3, and he left the game with the Rays up 1-0. Then this monster shows up. Mike Trout loves hitting, especially at Tropicana Field, top of the 8th.
There's a long fly ball. It is high. It is far. It is gone. Mike Trout, a 2-run homer.
A perfect tribute to John Sterling
That's
by
great.
Wayne Randazzo. And Trout makes it.
I like that. He gets the little.
You like the halo.
I like the
You're
halo.
into it. Okay.
Yeah,
Bottom of the
that's
8th.
nice.
7-pitch at bat for Harold Ramirez. Angels lead at 5-1. The changeup inside was the one he liked. Homer to left field. First of the season. Yandy Diaz scores, but it was too little, too late. Just for good measure. Top of the 9th. Taylor Ward with a man on. Got it. 6-6 on the year. You know that?
Yeah.
Anthony Rendon scores. 7-3 your final at the Trop on Monday.
Let's go to Boston. Patriots Day, Guardians, Red Sox pregame. You got the Patriots Day and, of course, the Jackie Robinson pregame festivities, and Rob Gronkowski was there to throw out the first pitch. Beautiful day for baseball, but he didn't throw it. He spiked it.
Spiked it.
You know, because it's the Gronk
As he
spike.
should.
Nicely done.
Yes.
First inning, Cutter Crawford facing Jose Ramirez. Oh, look at Weiler Abreu. That is a beautiful catch out in right field.
I was like, yes, please.
We move to the 7th inning. Will Brennan, pinch hitting and coming through. His first home run of the year, and the Guardians take a 2-0 lead. Scary moment here. Next batter, Esteban Florial. Fly ball in a nasty collision between Tyler O'Neill and Rafael Devers. O'Neill left the game, had to get stitches. He's in the concussion protocol, as you see. 8th inning, Jose Ramirez. At the plate. Men at the corners, that's down the line. Throw gets away, and that's going to allow a second run to score. Guardians go on to win by the final of 6-0. The Red Sox are 1-3 this season when Cutter Crawford pitches, despite him having an ERA of .42. Now here's some more. Yeah, here's some more information on Tyler O'Neill. Jim McCaffrey covering the Red Sox for The Athletic. O'Neill had the 8 stitches. They're going to check on him tomorrow, meaning today. Devers is okay, should be back in the lineup, but he is in the concussion protocol.
Yeah, my goodness, we are praying for him. He left the game with his face kind of covered in blood. Michael, you've been a part of those kind of plays there. That was hard to watch. Walk me through it.
It sure was, in a very scary moment there in Boston. First of all, you have your home run leader. Tyler O'Neill has been everything the Red Sox could have hoped for playing left field. And then your third baseman, for the next decade in Rafael Devers. So when the two of them go back, you definitely don't want any mistakes. But Fenway's a little different. If we could take a look at the tape, going back over this play, there's a very shallow left field. So it plays a little different where the third baseman and the left fielder, as well as the shortstop, are going to get into that no man's land a lot sooner than in other fields. So when we look at this in slow-mo, you see Tyler O'Neill yelling, I got it. So technically, fundamentally, it's the right thing. We want the outfielder, if he's coming in as opposed to the infielder moving back, to call him off. Let's pause right here just for 1 second. The difference here is, in the world of shifting right now, we look at Devers. He's actually playing probably a pull-side shortstop position. So when that ball goes to left field, it's a little bit of an unfamiliar territory for someone like Devers. As we go through the progression, what you want is all the outfielders, if they're coming in. I remember in spring training, you'd have these meetings, and I'd tell the outfielders, I have every ball that I'm going back to. I have every single ball until you say one word. The minute you say one word, it is your ball. And the other rule of thumb is the outfielder goes low, the infielder stays on his feet. You just don't want that infielder going back, sliding, two guys sliding, and then it could be a disaster, knees and everything involved. So if we can run this right here, this ball goes up. I mean, everyone's making their best bid at that. And the problem is crowd noise as well. Sometimes if you say, I got it, guys don't hear each other. Let's pause right here. So this is your standard, straight up defensive alignment. So let's go through the progression. You got the pitcher here. The first thing you got is you don't want the pitcher fielding any ball. But there are certain scenarios where you hit that little weak pop-up and the infielders can't get there. So that would be the only time I want the pitcher basically trying to make a play. Everyone has priority over the pitcher. Whoever gets there calls it, it's there. So the progression kind of goes this way. First baseman, third baseman have priority over the pitcher and the catcher. Shortstop has priority over the third baseman. Second baseman has priority over the first baseman. In the outfield, it's much the same way. The center fielder's the captain, just like kind of the shortstop's the captain of the infield. Center fielder has priority over his right fielder and his left fielder, and all outfielders have priority over the infielders. So when we run a play like this is another point in the game. Go ahead. This ball's hit into shallow right center. You see everyone going back. You hear an early I got it call. You don't see it, but Duran comes here and you're like, okay, this is what we got. This is kind of, Ryan Pepio here. He's like, hey guys, it's okay. The pitcher can make a play. They're athletic enough to make a play, because if you do get a ball that pops up, this is Freddie Peralta, hey, no problem, I got it. If you get a ball that's to the pitcher where the infielders can't get there, guess what? That's very weak contact. We don't want to reward any fielders with this. This last scene, the last thing anyone wants as a baseball fan, especially Red Sox fan, is to see Rafael Devers and Tyler O'Neill giving each other headbutts. And it looked really scary. It looks like guys will be okay. O'Neill's a tough cat. 8 stitches. Hopefully he's in the lineup soon. Devers, I think, will be in the lineup today. So just, that priority where if you can have the early communication is something that's talked about a lot in spring training. But sometimes there's crowd noise. Sometimes there are balls that are in between.
Yeah, that was going to be my question to you, Mike, because in the video you can see Tyler O'Neill say first, I got it. And then you see when Rafael Devers comes into frame, he's also saying, I got it.
Yeah, I mean, and there are plays where Roflo, both guys think they get it, and they actually think they're doing each other the favor. I guess the communication comes in if the guy with priority says, I got it, I mean, and I would do the same if I'm going back and I'm got a catcher coming. I want to say it as early as I can.
Right.
But there are times where both you say, I got it at the same time, the crowd screaming. So, there are those rare instances where it's a situation that they both say at the same time, or you don't hear it. You just want to avoid injury. And if someone goes high and low, you can kind of avoid that. Hopefully these two guys will be all right in the lineup.
Boy, definitely a scary collision. All right, let's go continue with the highlights here. Let's go to Philadelphia for the Rockies and the Phillies. Bryce Harper, who is yet to get on track offensively, but you know it's just a matter of time. I mean, it is Bryce freaking Harper after all. RBI knock. There you go. Brings in Trey Turner. 1-0 Philadelphia. We move to the fifth. Aaron Nola looking good so far until Michael Talia. His fourth of the season. Rockies tie it at 1. Move to the seventh. Aaron Nola's still in there. And still thriving. As a matter of fact, strikes out the side in the seventh. That's Paint right there at 93. 7 1/3. 9 strikeouts, 1 earned, 4 hits, walked just 1 batter.
Couple Uncle Charlies for you.
Oof. All right, we go to the ninth. Kyle Freeland, the pitcher, is pinch running. He's representing the go-ahead run. Ball gets away. Freeland trying to score, but he's out, and he's hurt, and he's holding his right shoulder. Oh, man, that is like a worst-case scenario. Freeland's upset. Game remains tied, and we go to the home half of the 10th. It's still 1-1 until Christian Pache. Drive home safely. First career walk-off hit for Pache. Phillies have their second walk-off win in 3 days. Let's go to the Rangers and the Tigers. Michael Lorenzen, look who's back. Facing his former team wearing Ranger blue. He's got some former teammates barking at him. Playing in a yard that he's very familiar with. Matt Vierling grounds into a 6-4-3 double play. As Lorenzen strands a couple of runners in the fourth. We move to the fifth. Bases loaded, Marcus Semien. Hit to the chopper.
Get down the line.
Good base running there by Semien. Good hustle. Run scores. Rangers up 1-0. Bottom of the fifth, Mark Canha. At the plate. Bases loaded. 1 out. When I'm playing MLB The Show, I always do this. Ground into a double play.
Yeah, I've done that a lot.
Oh, man.
In real life.
6-4-3 double play. 5 scoreless for Lorenzen. Tigers hit into a double play in 3 consecutive innings. Runners at first and second. Wenceel Perez strikes out to end the inning, and the Rangers go on to win by the final of 1-0. Semien, 15th RBI of the season, tied for the second most in the American League. And the first time Lorenzen has thrown 5 or more shutout innings since his no-hitter back in August of 2023. Michael Lorenzen, Michael signed late, but clearly he was one of those guys where I'm like, man, this is the guy that is still out there? A lot of teams could have used a guy like Michael Lorenzen.
Yeah, he kind of completes that rotation. You know, it's a guy you can rely on. He does a great job at first impressions. His second outing with, what was it, with the Phillies?
Yeah,
It was a no-hitter.
that's right.
First outing here, 5 scores.
Yeah.
But he's kind of like bend but don't break type guy. He had multiple runners on in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. 3 consecutive double plays. You know, so it's like I still am 1 pitch away from executing and getting out of the inning. So he's capable, reliable. Is he your number 1 on the staff? No, but he's that complimentary piece.
Yeah.
Not scared of the situation. Are they going to get Scherzer back? You know, they got some things where if they can keep playing well, their offense really hasn't taken off just yet. They're hitting great with runners in scoring position. But when those guys get going, man, it feels like right around June, July, you might be picking up some of your banged-up players, and it's kind of like making that.
You referenced his no-hitter. His season really kind of probably felt good to get this first start and to pitch so well. And the other thing that's good about him, he has experience in the bullpen. So you mentioned the pieces that are coming back for the Rangers. You can either keep Lorenzen in the lineup as someone that is good at the middle of your rotation, or you could put him in the bullpen if necessary.
You can, and you can actually give guys a short leash. You know, if someone's coming back from injury, you don't have to have them go 5 innings. They can go 3, and then Lorenzen might be the long
little
guy.
piggyback starter.
Yeah, he's very versatile. He brings a lot of value to to the pitching coach and the team itself.
Well, the Texas Rangers get a much-needed win on the road after they lose a series over the weekend at home to the Oakland A's. All right, we're just getting started on this edition of MLB Central. Speaking of the American League West, the defending American League West Division champion Astros are having all sorts of problems as they welcome to the Atlanta Braves to Minute Maid Park. Braves in Houston for the first time since winning the World Series in 2021. And hey, yes, we know it's the middle of April, but let's talk MVP. Are these your early April? Robert Flores with you. Braves, Astros beginning a series in Houston last night. Braves back in Houston for the first time since winning the World Series in 2021. Spencer Arrighetti, the Astros young pitcher, pitched very well, battled, but boy, did the Braves make him work. He hit Ozzie Albies there, and they gave the Braves a 2-1 lead. It's still 2-1 Atlanta in the ninth when Josh Hader, Mike, comes on, non-save situation, obviously, and he just couldn't get the Braves out.
Yeah, Braves got his number a little, but that lineup, when you look at it, it's so deep.
Yeah, they really lean on you. They take
you got an out.
pitches.
Here's Austin Riley. You get another out here. I mean, it's relentless. By the way, I feel a little naked here with no D-Lo.
I know. D will be back tomorrow.
Yeah, he'll be.
4 runs allowed in a third of an inning for Josh Hader, gives up 4 hits, and the Braves go on to win 6-1. Marcell Ozuna extends his hitting streak to 14 straight in the win. Pirates and Mets. Mets, of course, like everyone, celebrating Jackie Robinson and honoring Rachel Robinson, Jackie's widow, in a pregame celebration. In the 6th, Jeff McNeil, bases loaded. Francisco Lindor, is going to score. Throwing error there by Connor Joe. Looked like he just lost the grip. Next batter, DJ Stewart.
Rocket to right.
That's extra bases. Ties the game at 3. Bottom of the 8th, Harrison Bader. That's down the line. That plates 2. Mets go on to win 6-3. Edwin Diaz, career save, or his 100th save with the Mets, and back-to-back multi-hit games for Francisco Lindor. So that's definitely a good sign. Nationals and Dodgers. Mitchell Parker making his major league debut facing Mookie Betts. And how about that?
Hey, your first 3 hitters in the big leagues, big guy.
Yeah.
Mookie,
Freddie Freeman, and Shohei Ohtani. Good luck. C.J. Abrams. Mike, I love this kid's pop.
I know you said it for a while.
Like you don't think that there's that kind of thunder, but he gets Tyler Glasnow for his 4th home run of the year, ties the game, and then Luis Garcia. 1 start after striking out 14, Tyler Glasnow gives up 6 runs, and the Nationals definitely using that to their advantage. And Mitchell Parker, stellar in his debut. 5 innings, 4 strikeouts. He struck out Shohei Ohtani once, Mookie Betts twice. Congratulations to Mitchell Parker and his family as the Nationals get the win over the Dodgers 6-4. By the way, first time this season that the Nationals scored a run in the first inning.
Wow.
Reds, Mariners, Jorge Polanco off Frankie Montas. 3-run homer in the first. His 3rd, 3-0 Seattle. Mitch Haniger. His 3rd, 5-1 Seattle. Jonathan Clase, the Mariners' number 10 prospect, up. And that right there is his first career hit and RBI. Congratulations to him. Luke Raley, little blooper, gets past the center fielder. Raley ends up at 3rd of run scores. Mariners win 9-3. All right, Yankees and Blue Jays from Toronto. Luis Gil getting the start. After back-to-back walks, it's the former Yankee IKF with the bases loaded. He gets a walk, ties the game at 1. 2 batters later, George Springer, wild pitch. Another run scores. 3 walks and a wild pitch from Gil in the 2nd inning. Chris Bassett, he's really good. Pitched into the 7th, 4 hits, 1 earned, walked 2, struck out 5. He was showcasing the full arsenal.
Yeah,
as the
cutter, sinker, 4-seamer when he's going good. Not missing down the middle at all.
Chris Bassett, in his career, 2-0 lifetime against the Yankees with an ERA of 1. Blue Jays win 3-1. All right, Cubs, Diamondbacks, Michael Busch. 4 straight homers
5, right?
in 4 straight games and make it 5. The 5th player in team history to homer in 5 consecutive games. He's got his current teammate, Christopher Morel, on that list. Kevin Ginkel, an out away from securing the win. Wild pitch. Nico Horner, he's going to score all the way from second. And we're tied at 2. Move to the 11th. Horner now at the plate. Oh, good piece of hitting there. Yeah, tomahawks that one to right field. Cubs go on to win 3-2. The Cubs get their first extra inning win of the season. They had lost 5 in a row dating back to last season. So Michael Busch comes over from the Los Angeles Dodgers in the offseason, a guy that could always hit. In fact, he was the Dodgers minor league player of the year. And you're talking about having an impact in that Cubs lineup. He's coming through big time.
He's been outstanding. And, Seiya Suzuki just went down with an injury. And you look at that lineup, a lot of the guys are kind of early, small sample size, but
they've yet to get going.
Yeah, Dansby Swanson, Cody Bellinger, Ian Happ, Nico Horner, those guys, they haven't played up to par yet. So even more so how important Michael Busch has been to this lineup. And that's a huge win for the Cubs yesterday. You're down to your last kind of out. You pull out a game in extra innings on the road. That could kind of, catapult you into that
look at my man
winning ways. But
look at my man, Hack Wilson.
Yeah, he's just hanging out in 1928. Hanging out.
When you come over, and you've obviously had success everywhere you've gone, except the major league level in an organization, and then you come to a new organization and have this kind of impact, what does that do for your confidence, for your psyche?
Everything. I think when anyone goes into a new situation, getting off to a good start is a little bit more important. First of all, you want to prove to the new team that you're worth them, giving you the opportunity. This guy's always had the billing of being a guy that can hit at the next level, but I don't care who you are. No one comes to the big leagues having never played saying, I got confidence that I'm going to hit. You kind of have to prove it to yourself, So for him to do that, not only hitting well, but hitting with power, he's everything the Cubs have hoped for and a little bit more. So I'm excited. You combine him, he's got some versatility, can play in the outfield, can play first base.
Yeah.
You got guys like Bellinger. When they get going, the Cubs could be pretty interesting here in the NL Central.
In 81 games, he hit, or 81 plate appearances, he hit under 200 for the Los Angeles Dodgers last year. But clearly, he's off to an amazing start, and congratulations to him. He will try to make it 6 homers in 6 straight games as the Cubs continue their series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Kyle Hendricks will get the start for the Chicago Cubs. Since Dan is our +1 today, we thought we would have him put together a list of top 5 starting pitchers right now, top 5 relief pitchers right now.
Number 1 for me,
What?
Jason Foley. Dero, this guy would be a nightmare for you to have an AB. 98 to 100 with filthy movement. He throws a bowling ball sinker with a wipeout slider.
That was yesterday on MLB Central. Dan Plesac, who knows a thing or two about good relief pitching.
I would say so.
Having our next guest as his number 1 reliever in the game right now. And Jason Foley of the Detroit Tigers is that man. And Jason, good enough to join us this morning on the show. Jason, thank you for the time. What do you think of Dan Plesac's assessment of your skills and having you number 1 on his top 5 relievers in the game right now list?
Yeah, first off, thank you. It's obviously a pretty high honor. There's a ton of great pitchers in this league, so I appreciate you having me at the top of that list, and no doubt, thank you.
What's been working for you so far this year?
Yeah, I think the sinker's kind of been the bread and butter for me in my big league career so far, but I think the development of the off-speed stuff has been pretty good too. I feel like I've gotten some better command and a little bit more depth on that slider to help me out. Maybe get a little more swing and miss and help out with the left-handed hitters. So luckily it's been working a little bit so far this season, and hopefully keep it up.
Jason, Mike Lowell here. Did you throw a 4-seamer before and switch to a 2-seamer for the sinker?
Yeah, I'd thrown 4-seams my whole life. Just as a kid, they just teach you, grip a 4-seam, it's the straightest pitch. And I threw that up until 2020, and then in spring training, once analytics kind of became kind of on the forefront of baseball, I was told it's outside of velocity, it's a pretty flat pitch and doesn't really do much to generate swing and miss or missing barrels. So I kind of had a low slot, and they told me try throwing 2-seams, and it kind of just worked, and I hit the ground running and kind of never looked back.
Well, it worked for you and your Tigers bullpen. You guys are with the Cleveland Indians neck and neck, having the best ERA in Major League Baseball. Do you guys feel like you're a little underrated? You, Will Vest, Alex Lang. I mean, the numbers are fantastic. Are you guys flying under the radar a little bit?
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, we don't have maybe any guys on like crazy big contracts, or maybe, I mean, a lot of us are young still in this league. But I think you're right. We got 8 guys down there that we all trust to do the job at any time. And AJ puts us in pretty favorable situations to match up our stuff and our strengths with the hitters' weaknesses. So we're all doing a great job this year, and we're off to a hell of a start.
Jason, you're a Long Island kid. You went to Sacred Heart University out of Connecticut, went undrafted after your junior year. You signed with the Tigers. You clearly were not a finished product coming out of Sacred Heart, and you really have had to grind to get to this part of your big league career. How satisfying is it to have success now at the big league level in light of where you were and where you came from?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's sometimes tough to remember how far you've come on this journey because, you know, it's easy to get kind of worked up in the day-to-day life of the big leagues and trying to get outs at this level. But yeah, when you look back, obviously, you know, not many people really expected me to get to this point, and at some points in my life, probably myself included. But it just shows that, you know, working hard, and it's working hard every day and kind of grinding, and that paying off is really satisfying to look back on for sure.
What moment can you recall where you thought, I'm not sure this is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I got signed in the summer of 16. My first full year was 2017. Got off to a pretty good start, and then unfortunately got Tommy John about halfway through the summer. And at that point, I was kind of like, you know, like I'm already kind of at the bottom of the totem pole as an undrafted guy. Like everything's going to need to go my way, and that was just kind of another, you know, knock me down situation. But you know, after that, I didn't really know. You know, it was such an uphill battle from there, but you know, again, stuck it out and kind of grinded through the TJ. Luckily had great surgeons and trainers help me out along the way, and yeah, just kept working hard from there.
A true testament to your persistence, Jason. So I got to ask, the locks are flowing nice. We got the mustache going. Is there a method to that madness?
No, I mean, I guess a lot of people probably think I'm just copying Chafin. I get confused for him quite often, but the mustache started in COVID. I just, you know, I didn't get asked to go to any of the camps or the, you know, extended alternate sites, and I stayed down in Florida and just kind of grew my beard out to the point where I looked like a caveman and got sick of it and just shaved it off to a mustache and started throwing the ball pretty well, so I kind of kept it for the season. The off season, though, I try to clean it up a little bit and go back to the beard.
I like it. All right, here's the zero question. You got a day game today. What'd you have for breakfast?
Just ate had some eggs, bacon, sausage, and a bowl of fruit. Tried to keep it a little light. I'll probably get something else before the game, but
when you throw 100,
cup of Joe, of course.
Yeah, you know, I guess when you throw 100, you can go eggs, bacon, sausage, and call it a light breakfast.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Good for you.
Hey, Jason, real quick on your Detroit Tigers as a group. Obviously, a lot of young players. We had Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green in studio a couple of weeks ago. There's definitely some intriguing foundation pieces there for your ball club. What do you make of the vibe of the clubhouse, and where do you see your Tigers and how you guys fit right now in the AL Central?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. We got a lot of young guys and a lot of guys that have been together on this team and in the minors for, you know, 4 or 5 years now. And I think I speak for a lot of guys in this clubhouse and say it's probably the most fun clubhouse I've been a part of. It's you know, we all love being there and getting together, and we have a lot of fun playing ball. And you're right, there's guys like Riley and Torque and Parker and a lot of young guys that are, and Colt Keith, that are on the come up and are still getting better. So we're excited for it. We're excited for this team, and the Central's certainly gettable. We got some good teams though. You know, the Royals and the Guardians are playing some good ball, so it'll be good competition all summer long. But we're excited for where we're headed.
Jason, I'm stalking your Instagram right now. I was doing it during the break. You can follow Jason on Instagram at JFull6. I noticed on a couple of your photos you used the hashtag surprise Sade. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
And hashtag throw what you know and hashtag babe. I need to know what those hashtags mean, sir.
Yeah, those all kind of stem from one of our players last year, Nick Maton. He was an absolute clown. We loved having him around, but he was the jokester, and those are a lot of inside jokes we had with our team. And again, we got a lot of inside jokes, and we have a lot of fun together. So those were all kind of just things personal to us that we kind of.
Well, don't reveal it. We don't want you to get fined in the kangaroo court. So
that's all right. That's all right.
There you go. Well, Jason, congratulations on all your success. Best of luck to you and the Tigers the rest of the way. And thanks for joining us this morning.
No doubt. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
You got it. That's Jason Foley of the Detroit Tigers, a team that, like you said, the American League Central, it's wide open, and there's a handful of good teams in that division.
Sure are. Here, check this out. Oh, boy.
Yeah, absolutely. So StatCast is powered by Google Cloud, and it's most runs saved on sinkers. And, of course, Jason was talking about his sinker. He loves it. He throws it. Hashtag throw what you know. And look at this. He is second on this list behind Chris Bassett, and he's ahead of Yanir Cano, who is considered one of the dominant arms in the bullpen across the game.
Premier sinker baller. You see that. I think you see it in the swings and misses and in the weak contact. It gets that late, heavy, like I say, I have a heavy ball. Why? Well, it feels like it has that late horizontal movement. It's got great stuff. And it feels like he's not a max effort guy either. It's a nice fluid motion.
Yeah.
You mix that sinker with a nice tight slider, man. Yeah. I'm not excited to go to the plate when he's there.
Two things. One, heavy ball is the title of my upcoming book. And two, he's only given up 2 homers in the last 77 innings. And once again, this is his Instagram, at JFoles6. Hashtag surprise Sade and hashtag throw what you know, hashtag babe. Here on this Tuesday edition of MLB Central, and Joel, you've obviously been on the Yankees beat for a lot of years, and your reaction to John Sterling announcing his retirement yesterday.
Yeah, John has been part of my life for a long time. I grew up in New York. He had one of the first sports talk shows,
yes.
WMCA. I used to listen with my dad to him do sports talk. Then his first year doing radio play-by-play, 1989, I was on the Yankee beat from 89 to 95. Wow. So we had that. And John, I'll say this, there's no one else like John. I would say John might not be your cup of tea, but there's no other cup of tea like John in the world.
That's a great way.
And so, and I love dealing with John, a million different reasons. You know what John loved? He loves newspapers. He was one of the rare guys who would read something in a newspaper instead of acting like it was his. Go, oh, I read this in the paper. John Heyman wrote, I really think it's a good idea. And then I got to do a bucket list thing. I think it was 2007. It was the Jewish holidays in September. Susan Waldman observes, and she was gone. They asked me to sit next to John for 2 games.
Oh, wow.
I think it was 2007 or 08. I think it was 2007. It was 1 game in Toronto, and I think 1 game back in New York, also against Toronto. And I sat next to John Sterling for I think one of the games.
What surprised you about being that close to him as he did his work?
It was, so I came in, as you can imagine, I never done it. I kind of know I'm not there for my voice. I'm there to know things. So I came in with a bunch of papers and stuff. John took them and threw them in the garbage and said, the team. Just follow me and we'll have a good time together. And it was great advice.
I love that.
I followed him
That's really
all game, and we had a conversation for a couple of hours about baseball.
That's great.
It was a bucket list that worked perfectly. It was great.
Congratulations, John Sterling, on an amazing career. Amazing career. Speaking of amazing careers, Mike Trout has certainly had one, and he is off to an amazing start. We've said it on this show numerous times, Michael, that Mike Trout, you get the sense that he came in this season with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and boy, is it playing out.
It sure is, and I think he's 100% healthy for the first time in a while. It's been a few years where he's missed a bunch of games. I mean, the talent speaks for itself, but I will say, the guys hitting behind him have to be important, and the fact that Ward has gotten off to such a good start, I think kind of puts that position where the pitchers are like, well, am I going to face Ward, who hit, I think, his 6th yesterday, or do I go after Trout? So it does pose a little bit of a problem, but I mean, he's one of the faces of the game. He's one of the elite players, and it's incredible to think he's like in year 12 or 13 of his career, which I can't imagine. But I would love to see a full season, and I would love to see Trout in the postseason. I think that's what, baseball fans want to see.
I mean, the Angels are at 500 right now under new manager Ron Washington, Joel. It hasn't been perfect, but definitely some positive signs for sure.
Yeah, but what worries me, so I think him and Ward have 13 homers, the team has 18. Right? Like, there's just not enough quality through the 26 and then through the 40 to 50 you'll need for the whole season. And you mentioned the playoffs. He's playing great again. He has said he doesn't want to make it easy on himself and go someplace else. But when he's playing like this, when you think about July 30th coming up this year, do teams at least make the phone call and say, is Trout
have to?
I think you have to. This is about Mike Trout having to be an NBA player, because the Angels aren't going to trade him without him saying, I'd like to go do something. Because they're going to have to be forgiven by their fans. And so the question is, will Trout ever get to the point where he says, you know what? It's not just Mike Lowell wants to see me in October. I want to be in October.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Baltimore Orioles. They get a win last night, and Cedric Mullins hits a home run and makes the catch of the year. And obviously, it's mid-April, so things could change. But Mike Lowell, when people talk about full extension, that's it.
What a nice day.
Yeah.
Hey, go deep and make a great
You ever
catch.
do that?
I'd love to know. Make a great catch like that? No chance. He ran like 80 feet just to have a bid at it. But by the way, he's 2 years removed from a 30-30 season. Like, Cedric Mullins has real talent, and you add more of that type player to what the Orioles already have. I still like the Orioles as the best team in the AL East. They're so complete, they're athletic, they're hungry, and I still don't think that they feel they get the credit they deserve.
This is the walk year for Cedric Mullins, right?
He's 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
He's 2 from 30-30. He's 2 after 25, after next season. He's a free agent, and I think he's an interesting test case for new ownership, because they have a lot of interesting young outfielders. Cowser, who's already who could play center field blowing up. Is he kind of part of the team moving forward, or do they have to make even a tough decision after this season when he's entering this walk year? Do we trade him for some more pitching because we have so many good young players coming? It's a tough decision because ownership will probably want to show the fan base, we'll keep our best players. Well, he's one of their best players, but he's kind of ahead of everybody else.
And he's been on the ground floor. He's been of some bad teams.
And now he's a really good player on good teams now.
Yeah. Well, Mike said that they were hungry. They've also been thirsty, too. And for that, they've got still the hydration station there. This is something that they ushered out last season. But, Mike Lowe, they're taking it to a whole new level, really adding on to the whole experience of the hydration station.
Yeah, that's kind of a four-piece, I don't know, after...
It's almost like a hydration station octopus. With the things. All right, anyway. Kyle Freeland, watch what happened to him. We showed you this earlier. This happened to the Rockies-Philadelphia Phillies game. This is Kyle Freeland, the pitcher. He is pinch running. He's at third. Ball gets away. He's ruled out, and he comes up holding his right shoulder. Now, Joel, it looks like he's going to be okay, but Bud Black did say, hey, he's our fastest runner. Bit of a risk there, obviously, and unfortunately for the Rockies, it didn't pay off.
He's the fastest runner, but he never runs the bases. And then you're asking him to do it. It's what I like in concept, the idea of the double hook for a way to maybe keep starting pitchers in longer, where, you know, you would remove the DH.
When you lose your starting pitcher.
When you lose your starting pitcher, as a way to encourage longer starting pitching. But I don't think it works in reality, because now literally nowhere do pitchers hit, do pitchers run the bases. And if you do that and you run out of pinch hitters for that designated hitter spot, you're going to ask pitcher, you're trying to prevent injury, and now you're going to say to the pitcher, hit, run the bases, though you never do it. And is it even really worthwhile to practice it? Hey, take batting practice once a homestand. Why? I might hit once this year. That's a waste of my time. So that, like, when I watch stuff like that, I wonder about that potential rule.
Interesting.
Some guys are really athletic.
Yeah.
Like he says, you saw him run from third to home. Like, he was moving.
Yeah, no, he can pick him up.
I mean, the only downside is, yes, if he does get hurt. But I still remember Jack McKeon telling Dontrell Willis in the sixth inning, put your spikes on. Not only are you going to run, you're going to pinch hit. If the guy's good enough, I mean, come on, man. Some pitchers are really good athletes.
But that was at a time where pitchers were still hitting it.
But I'm saying it's running the bases. I guarantee you Kyle Freeland was a great basketball player or something else in high school. Like, he can't run. He can't run and slide. It's okay. I'm all right.
I think maybe your point is his inexperience. Maybe
he just doesn't do it a lot.
You know, when that ball gets away, maybe he doesn't have the right frame of reference of, can I go here? Has it gotten away? But You know,
They don't catch pop-ups either.
that's true.
Not to catch.
Hopefully he's okay. Hopefully he'll be able to make his next start. Hey, IKEA, our building success is presented by IKEA, and we're going to talk about Sonny Gray making a start last night back in Oakland. This time pitching for the St. Louis Cardinals, and against his former team, he records career win number 100. Remember, he missed the start of season after a hamstring issue popped up during spring training. Limited sample size, obviously, Mike Lowell, but man, he's been really good for them.
I tell you, great sign for the St. Louis Cardinals, and it was something that they really lacked in 2023, getting good quality starts out of their rotation. I mean, signed to be an ace. He has ace stuff. Early returns are great. I mean, this is good news for the Cardinals if he can do this.
Joel, he's got the second best ERA of 2.63. What did you say, Nay? Since the last 2 years. I mean, that's a pretty good sample size, and that's a good number.
Well, he was second in the AL Cy Young last year. Since he left the Yankees, so that's 5 seasons now, since 19, he has a 3.17 ERA and 126 starts. He has graduated, usually by this point of your career in your 30s, you're starting to go the other way. It seems like he has found both stuff, pitching stuff, and the right stuff, a mentality about it, where we're getting the best of Sonny Gray right now. And I'll give a small thing that I think is encouraging. If I've signed like Yamamoto, for example, this is a small right-hander. The worry about Yamamoto was, what is the durability long-term? Well, if you could keep remaking yourself, and maybe like in this situation, the size of the pitcher doesn't matter.
Hey, Mike, I'm looking at this National League Central right now, and every team except the Cardinals is above 500, and the Cardinals are just a game below 500. We talked about the American League Central being kind of wide open. And right now, you could make that same argument for the NL Central.
Absolutely. I think it's all gettable. No one has actually kind of jumped out to an early lead. I just look at it as if you get on that 12-game run, 14-game run where you go 10-4, 9-3, something like that, you could put yourself 3-4 games in that division ahead of someone else. So, yeah, I think it's going to be that way all year. It's a little bit of a battle of attrition. I don't think most of those teams in either of those divisions have powerhouse offenses or monster, pitching rotations. But it's more like when we talked about the Tigers, the bullpens. Which bullpen is going to keep you in most of the games and win those close games to kind of separate yourself within that division?
And really, Paul Goldschmidt hasn't gotten going. He's hitting below 200.
Yeah, he hasn't gotten going. Look, I think the division is fascinating. I think the Reds have the most talent in the division, but Matt McLain, who I'm not sure is going to get back this season because of the shoulder injury, that's a huge loss. He's a really good player. I like that all those young players on Milwaukee, this is a team that traded Corbin Burns. Devin Williams hasn't thrown a pitch for them yet this season due to injury, and yet, they always seem to patch together something really good. I think it is a fascinating division. The question is it a race to 85?
That's true.
Because no one is likely to get away from everybody else, and so your ability to get healthy and add in July could be the difference in those 2 to 3 marginal wins. That is the difference between 83 and 86, for example. I'm not sure anyone gets to 90.
That's a great point, because the trade deadline, when you're in the division and everyone's in it, that's when it gets exciting. You feel like if you pull the trigger, and you might see teams here, I think, make the early moves, the end of May, maybe mid-June type move, because they want to get ahead of the curve. They still feel like they're in it, and no one's really pulling away.
Fangraphs projects that 85 wins will be good enough to win the National League Central.
And I didn't even look at Fangraphs.
We'll have to see how that plays out. All right, coming up in hour number 2, speaking of the Milwaukee Brewers, they began a series last night of MLB Central. Mike Lowell is in for Dero. I'm Robert Flores. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Let's go front and center. And let's talk about Cedric Mullins. Twins, Orioles, robbing Kyle Farmer with an unbelievable catch. He also hit a home run, and the Orioles beat the Twins by the final of 7-4. Angels, Rays, beginning a series in St. Petersburg. Mike Trout, his 7th home run of the season. It's a 2-run homer. Angels beat the Rays 7-3. Padres, Brewers in Milwaukee, and it was all about the Jacksons. Jackson Merrill of the Padres, 3 for 5, couple of ribs, stolen base. And then his Jackson counterpart for the Milwaukee Brewers, Jackson Chourio, 2-run homer. That's his 3rd of the year. However, the Padres do beat the Brewers in the series openers last night in Milwaukee, 7-3. Remember when the Mets started the season 0-5? Well, since then, they have won 8 of their last 11. Harrison Bader plates 2 with an RBI double. Mets get the win 6-3. Back-to-back multi-hit games for Francisco Lindor. He has started the season slowly. That's definitely a welcome sign. Rockies, Phillies, Aaron Nola, spectacular. 7 1/3, 9 strikeouts, 4 hits, 1 run. Then in the 10th, Christian Pache, walk-off knock, his first career walk-off hit, second Phillies walk-off win in the last 3 days. They beat the Rockies 2-1. Let's go to Detroit. Former Tiger Michael Lorenzen coming off the 15-day injured list to face his former team. And he was pretty good. 4 strikeouts, 5 innings of work, didn't allow a run, gave up just 3 hits. Only 1 run is scored. And the Rangers blanked the Tigers 1-0. Cubs and Diamondbacks in the desert, and Michael Busch continued to stay hot. 5th consecutive home run, tying a franchise record. Then in the 11th, Nico Horner hits a go-ahead double to put the Cubs on top. Cubs win in extra innings, 3-2. And on a day where longtime play-by-play announcer John Sterling announces retirement, the Yankees begin a series against the Blue Jays. Luis Gil walked in a run, and then Alejandro Kirk had the first extra base hit of his season. Blue Jays take the series opener against the Yankees 3-1. All right, Mike Lowell, let's talk about those Toronto Blue Jays. And there's a good part of that lineup, particularly Vlad Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, that have yet to get scorching hot. Justin Turner has been a godsend for this Blue Jays lineup.
You hit it right on the head, Roflo. You know, when you look at that offense, you say, wow, if you put a guy, a veteran presence like Justin Turner, this offense is going to take off. Well, early returns, even George Springer, along with Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., they've gone off to slow starts. So let's give the love to Justin Turner here. 1-year signing. He's going into his age 39 season. And this isn't a young pup. You know, it's been well documented how he, bounced around a little, really found a home in L.A. And I think what he brings to the table is a consistent veteran approach that can do damage in big situations. What I love about this guy is his swing path, his ability to make big plays in big moments, and we're going to break down what he can do with the inside pitch. But I kind of want to take a look at a couple graphics of how good he's been for how long, and I want to compare it to one of the most legendary third basemen in the game, George Brett. Now, these numbers are between his age 29 and 39 season. George Brett was fantastic pre-age 29, so that's what makes it the separator. But look at this, plate appearances, the batting average, very similar, on-base percentage, slugging. I mean, you're talking about one of the greatest third baseman era, and this is not a 2-year stretch or a 4-year stretch. This is a decade long. Look at this. Before, yes, below average OPS plus, but it just shows you that not everyone figures out what their strengths and weaknesses are in, your age 22, 23 season, a la Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, Manny Machado, those guys. So when I take a look at this, I said, okay, this is someone who's in the Hall of Fame from the past. How about today's game? How about guys that have that consistent OPS plus in the above average range? This was staggering to me. I mean, you look at in the last 10 years, guys that have 100 plus OPS in every season, meaning you don't really have a below average down year. Paul Goldschmidt, former MVP, Bryce Harper. I mean, this is MVP central, and Justin Turner's right in that mix. So what makes him so good, in my opinion? And I want to specifically draw on the inside pitch. This is a guy, if we go back to the tape, he can handle the inside pitch, hitting in different directions. This is 96 in, can hit a rocket down the third baseline. Keeps this ball in his path, hits it over the shortstop. Can take a changeup, and most guys, if you see that ball in, you're hooking it foul unless your path is outstanding. These are the ones I love. 94 in sinker, stays inside the ball, hits it up the middle. So we're going to take a little side angle in a second, but if we can pause right here before we go here. When I say the path and that point of contact is when you're coming from point A, which is your load position, into point B, which is the contact position. The path that your arms and your hands take are huge, especially on the inside pitch. A lot of guys, when they see the inside pitch, their eyes get big. They want to get to it. And the first thing they do is sometimes they come out. And the problem with that is when you make contact at that point, you might hit a rock and it's going to be foul. What he does is he does such a great job coming from the load position to the contact position in a direct line, which means, I mean, ideally, we always want to hit the ball right here, a little bit out in front with our body behind the ball to be able to drive through it. But some guys throw 97. Some you don't see. You're not always going to be a robot and hit it here. Sometimes you're going to be beat a little bit. Sometimes you're going to be what is hopefully called comfortably out in front. If the path in that hitter zone can be consistent, if you get beat or lock it up or a little bit out in front, you still have the chance to hit the ball hard and do damage. So when I look at Justin Turner, he doesn't have that traditional approach where it's, low leg kick. I mean, he is firing on all cylinders. Let's roll the tape. You're going to see he has a monster leg kick. I mean, let's take it back. If we could take it back for a second and pause at the height of his leg kick, take it, a couple frames forward. I mean, this is something where there's a lot of movement. He's creating a lot of drive. What I love about this is if you take a look at his head, when this is in let's call it prime load position to his landing point, stop it when his foot hits the ground, please, and we can run that. I mean, you got a head movement that for me, I see it stays on the same plane.
Mike, look at the bat. It almost looks like it's bowed, like he's creating so much whip.
Yes, and Dero uses this term a lot. He's creating lag.
Yeah.
What does that do? It kind of puts your hands directly into that hitter's position. And that's not easy to do. When you take a look at the stuff guys have, guys that are throwing sinkers that look like they're starting way out, you have that normal tendency to try to go out and get it. He's so good at kind of keeping it to himself. We can roll the tape and you see the contact point, even on this play. I mean, that ball's a little down and in. I love the firm front side. His head's down. He stays through the ball. And you know what it is? It's not this launch. Every ball, when you make contact, if we can go back 2 frames to where he makes contact, look at that bat angle. You rarely, if ever, make contact. The only time you make contact with your bat like this is kind of like the Nico Horner pitch that he hit today. Yeah. Last night into right field. Your bat is always at this angle. So though that angle of coming from top down, creating it is going to create backspin. It's going to create your launch angle and your exit velo. Let's keep running it here. Basically to see vintage high finish. He does so many things good, but this is a learned behavior. I mean, this is a sinker up in the zone, I would say inner third, and it's a ball that probably beat him a little bit. Ideally, if you'd want to have your bat out in the hitter zone a little 2 clicks in front, but it's not always going to work that way. If you keep going, run the tape. His hands, I love watching this. Look at how close his hands are to his body. This front elbow is really close to his midsection, and it just allows him to put a consistent swing on a variety of different pitches, but especially that inside pitch. Justin Turner, I mean, he's a guy where, he's going into his age 39 season. You're saying, is this guy, going to show signs of, declining? I don't think so, Roflo. And for a team that has so much potential firepower, if guys don't get off to a good start, you're talking about that AL East. I mean, they're still playing 1 game above 500. They're tied for third. They're right in the mix. They've been having great starting pitching. So to have a guy like Justin Turner in that lineup is huge. It's a very calming influence for a manager, that's for sure.
Well, the first place New York Yankees, they continue their series against Justin Turner and the Blue Jays tonight in Toronto. It's Carlos Rodon against Yusei Kikuchi. Good matchup there between a couple of lefties tonight in Toronto.
A 1-run loss for the Tigers on Monday gives their opponent, the Texas Rangers, the same amount of wins as them, 9 apiece, with the first game on the Tuesday schedule on tap. Casey Mize, John Gray get together before another afternoon game tomorrow, a 1:10 Eastern. First pitch, the lone day game today. Enjoy. Brady Singer, immaculate this season, a 2-0 record, an ERA under 1. He will take on a White Sox lineup that he held just 1 run in 6 1/3 back on April 5th, and that has just 2 wins. wins on the season. They will be at home in front of their home crowd, and will try to get some offense going against the Kansas City stud. And Mitchell Parker, we see you. He had a debut to remember. How's this for your first big league task? Take on the Dodgers lineup. Have fun. Well, with Mom in the stands cheering him on, he guided his Nationals to a much-needed 7th win of the year. Another night game from beautiful Los Angeles tonight, 10-10 out west. Can't wait.
Saxophone makes everything sound sexy. Yeah. Slide into my GMs. It goes down in the DMs and GMs, and Dan O'Dowd is here. Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Buffalo, good to see you guys.
Good to see you, too. All right, we wanted to get your thoughts. Little early scouting report, little thumbnail sketch, if you will, of two teams, the Kansas City Royals and the Milwaukee Brewers. Let's start with the Kansas City Royals. They didn't get their 11th win of the season last year until May. Wow. They've already reached that total this year.
Yeah, I mean, we're only through 10% of the season, so it's an early look. But, you know, from a GM perspective, I think you look for trends. For me, one of the things you had to see from the Royals going into this season, did the players who struggled last year begin to bounce back for them this year? And then does your best player, your superstar, take that next step in his career? And I think it's check, check, check all the way up and down the line for him. So if you're a Royals fan and if you're the front office, I think you're really encouraged. Bobby Witt right now for me is playing as well or better than any one individual player in the game. He is 90 percentile in hard hit rate, barrel rate, and sprint speed. Mike, like, you do those things, you're going to win an MVP if you do those on a consistent basis.
I mean, he's MVP caliber. He brings so much to the table in so many different areas.
And he's like, Roflo, it's the contract for me does a lot of different things.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
I think there's a freedom in his game that wasn't there prior. Obviously, he was a young player, but I also think it locks up players around him to know, I'm going to play with this guy for a long period of time, and we have a future together. And then I think you look at some other things, like their starting rotation. I think they're second in the ERA in the American League. And I think the one guy there that I look back at, and this is their percentile from a offensive standpoint. Melendez has bounced back, Mike. Yep. He's playing really well. Pasquantino hasn't gotten it going yet, but I think he will. But it's the starting pitchers' ERA. I mean, stolen base, they're first. Stolen base, starting pitcher ERA, they're second. So to me, from a starting pitching standpoint, the one guy I want to see bounce back was Brady Singer, because I felt like he had the tremendous upside. Now, he's having a tremendous year. I thought J.J. Piccolo's acquisition of Reagan's a year ago, they legitimately have a 1-2 punch right now.
No doubt.
That I think is very, very sustainable. And I think they filled their rotation with smart free agent signings in Lugo and Waka. So I think you see a little bit of a future unfolding there. I mean, they still aren't a complete team. There's still holes offensively that may show up at some point in time. Their bullpen doesn't strike anybody out, but it doesn't walk anybody either. They've caught the ball relatively very well. So I think in the American League Central, the Twins were the favorite. They've lost Correa, Lewis, Kepler, DeScalfani for the year. They have 11 players on the DL. The Guardians have already lost Bieber. Everything has changed in only 10% of the season in that American League Central. I think if you're the Royals, you look at it and say, hey, we've got some confidence now. Let's continue to grind out day in and day out. 84, 85 wins, you may win a division this year.
Well, it'd be fun to see a packed Kauffman Stadium this summer there to watch the Royals. The Milwaukee Brewers, you know, when they traded away Corbin Burns, we were wondering, all right, what direction are they headed into? But man, fastball Freddie Peralta looks great. From your GM perspective, when you look at the Brewers right now, what do you see?
A dynamic offensive team. Yelich is playing like he did in his MVP-type years. The Contreras kid behind the plate looks like an aircraft carrier, offensively and defensively. And when I look at ball clubs, I look at their strength up the middle. So I got Contreras behind the plate. The Turan kid has taken a huge step in his game, and he's an elite defender at second. And then Adames, I think, is one of the more overlooked players in the game at shortstop, having a great offensive year. He's always been a good, steady defender. Now they've got three players up the middle that I think are legitimate all-star, carry it. Yeah. Then you've got Frelick. Then you've got the Chirino kid that's playing so well now And I think Murph has done a great job mixing and matching all these players in a way where they're not getting overexposed at all. Oliver Dunn, who they picked up kind of in a secondary move, he's mixed and matched with him really well. And their bullpen's been good, and you got Devin Williams coming back.
I was about to say, Mike, Devin Williams has yet to throw a pitch for this
he hasn't gotten an out
team.
for them yet. So those are very encouraging signs. And I find it interesting. We go from the GM perspective, but when you talk Kansas City Royals from a player's perspective, when you see a team unfolding, man, there are players that then they become free agents. Those cities and those teams become a lot more attractive. So it not only opens up a pool for, the GM and the management to go after players, but the players now feel that that's another team that I think I could have success. I think I could play, well in that market, in that area, in that ballpark. So it has a positive snowball effect when
and I think everybody's worried about losing Craig Counsell. I wasn't as much, because I know that Pat Murphy just needed an opportunity. I think he's got a really unique way of connecting to his players and creating this, we're against the world. The sum of our parts is better than the individual parts. I think it really matches with the Brewers' personality. But I really like, they're third in the National League in stolen bases. They're a very, very aggressive team. And again, I think that's a division when you look at, I picked the Cubs to win that division, but I think anybody can win that division if they can stay healthy. I think the starting pitching will be the key for the Brewers.
All right, so two surprising teams, the Milwaukee Brewers and the Kansas City Royals. We'll see if they can continue to sustain this early season success. All right, when we come back here on this edition of MLB Central, well, first we got this tweet here. Yes, Mike Francesa will join Christopher Mad Dog Russo on MLB Network's High Heat. That comes your way right after we're done.
Joel Sherman in the house looking at important trends a few weeks into this season. Look at this. ERA leaders in the game right now. 5 of the top 10 ERA leaders have spent time as relievers as well as starters. As we say good morning to you, that is shocking. Good morning again to you. Is this out of necessity? Because it's working. That's for darn sure, Joel.
Yeah, it's a subject we visited last week when I was here, and I noticed that again. And I just wanted to highlight a few things. So Blanco, only 34 starts in the minor leagues, 202 appearances. He was a minor league reliever pretty much, emergency starter. He has a no-hitter this year. He has the only complete game in the major leagues. Think about this. He's 3-0 with an 0.86 ERA. Okay. The Astros are 3-12 in the games he hasn't started. Like, you think they're afloat. Where would they be without him? Crochet hadn't started a game in the major leagues. He's the ace of the White Sox right now, kind of is he junior Chris Sale, the way he throws. Hicks we saw on that, Littell, who came up afterwards. I want to highlight the Red Sox because, so Cutter Crawford threw 5 2/3 shutout innings yesterday. Crawford's a guy who they've wondered, does he have the endurance to go around the lineup a third time? So there's questions, is he a starter or reliever? That's been the question with Garrett Whitlock. It was the question with Tanner Hoke. But you mentioned, desperation, the mother of necessity, or however that horrible saying goes. Anyway, 10. Those 3 guys have made 10 combined starts. No Lucas Giolito, right? Who's going to do it? I don't know what the Red Sox season is this year. They have an 0.82 ERA combined. Those 3 guys in 10 starts. It's like, how long will it last?
That's my question. Is it sustainable? Because that's a small sample size over 160.
So I want to share something. Adam Ottavino is one of the most thoughtful players I talk to on any regular basis. And I asked him about this trend over the weekend. Seth Lugo was in over the weekend. I talked to Seth. Seth said he thinks there's guys in every bullpen who have ambition to do this and the ability to do this, but they're in the major leagues. They don't want to. He couldn't do it with the Mets. He's done it with the Royals, got $45 million over 3 years. Adam Ottavino said something fascinating. He said, we live in an age now where you could learn like a new pitch in a month, with the Rapsodo and everything like that. So he said, this bullpen right now, aside from Edwin Diaz, who has a dominant fastball and a dominant slider, he said, everyone in our bullpen throws 3 to 5 pitches. We used to not throw 3 to 5 pitches, but you could learn one. And so the question is, if you could learn one and you're a reliever and you have some starting in your background, some desire to do it, some durability mentally and physically, should teams be looking to pluck it out? As you see the success of Zach Littell, Michael King, Ronaldo Lopez, Seth Lugo, Ronald Blanco. I just wonder if we're seeing the beginning of a trend because players can develop that, you're usually in the bullpen because you only have 2 pitches. well, what if you could more easily develop a third and fourth pitch now? It made me think more about the subject.
It's interesting because I asked the guys yesterday on the couch, I said, what's the difference between what a reliever can do and a starter? And they said one pitch.
Yeah.
So to your point, it could change so quickly. The narrative around relievers is that it's a fickle position, right? Year to year. Is that always the case? And what have you seen so far this year?
So, Lauren, we've concentrated so much on the starting pitching injury epidemic. Well, I'm here to tell you, you go look at what's going on with relief pitchers. We're on the subject of that, and it's not great either. So if you look at the top 4 guys in Fangraphs relief war last year, these are the 4. Number 2 and 4 haven't pitched this year. Batista won't pitch at all. Matt Brash is kind of beginning to rehab towards it. We talked about David Bednar on a show last week. He got booed in Pittsburgh. Tanner Scott, who seemed to have his walk situation under control last year, is back walking too many guys. And here's a list of top relievers who haven't pitched this year. Duran, Romano, Sewald, Devin Williams. Those are 4 of the best relievers. They've all hurt, all on the injured list. Only Romano, who probably will come off Jordan Romano from Toronto will come off the injured list. I want to highlight one other. We thought the Astros were creating a super bullpen when they signed Josh Hader, right, for the 5-year, $95 million. You team him with Ryan Presley. You team him with Brian Abreu. Would you like to know what those 3 guys are this year? They're 1-4 with an 8.44 ERA and 3.18 batting average against. Hader blew up again last night, again in a non-save situation. They haven't pitched well. It is a volatile job, both in performance and health, and we're certainly seeing it early this year with people we would have thought of as surer things bullpen-wise.
Oh, we haven't talked about the injuries to relievers. You're so excited. You're dropping your pen. Braves have injuries.
Well, I was talking about the bullpen, right? That's the pen, anyway.
That's right. Braves have injuries, and at the top of the list, it's Spencer Strider. Yet, we saw it against the Astros. We talk about, Joel, how you look around the infield and the outfield, they're all locked up for a long time. It's not just that. It's out of 162, they're trying their darndest to play that. Ozzie Albies missed time last year, but it's Matt Olson, it's Austin Riley. 162 is the benchmark. It's not like that with every team.
So last week, Luis Guillorme came in a blowout loss to the Mets. He came in to pitch. Do you know what that meant? The last guy who was on a major league roster to start a season had finally gotten into a game. He didn't even get into the game in his normal position because the Braves play 7 players pretty much every day. They finally gave Arcia a day off yesterday, and Guillorme played shortstop. But that was it. It's one of the reasons they won 104 games last year. Would you like to know why? There were 14 players in the major leagues who played 159 or more games. 3 were Braves. They had 8 players play 135 or more games. That was 2 more than any team. They're doing it again this year. In an age of load management, Lauren, they've got prime age star position players, and they play their star age position players. I've always thought when people talk about wins above replacement, when you used to say, he played 120 games and he's got a great wins above replacement. I'm like, yeah, but you played 162. Who played the position for the 42 games that the guy didn't? Why don't we subtract that number from that guy's WAR? We don't ever have to subtract with the Brave guys. They play the game.
Whenever I go to baseballreference.com, Joel, that's the number one thing I look at is games played. It matters to me. If I was a teammate, that would matter to me the most.
I think if we had the 30 managers here and we polled them and said, what's most important to you? They would say, who's available to me and consistent. Like consistently gets on the field and a consistent performer, and the Braves have that.
Juan Soto is very consistent. He certainly has been to start the year. And you are not cold-hearted. You're giving out some awards already? Early season. Let's overreact. Come on.
I wasn't giving out. I was looking at it because last year, if you remember, in both leagues, the number 2 and 3 placement in the MVP was the same team. It was Betts Friedman with the Dodgers, and it was Seager-Simeon with the Rangers. They finished 2 and 3. And just off the early season, I was like, is it possible that Soto and Anthony Volpe are kind of like starting to move towards that? It's amazing. I'm not mentioning Aaron Judge, who has had 3 seasons where he's played more than 112 games. In those 3 seasons, he's finished 1st, 2nd, and 4th in the MVP. But the thing that stands out to me here is really Volpe. Because if I were going to say who's the 2-week American League MVP, I would say Bobby Witt of the Royals. You know who Volpe reminds me of a little? Bobby Witt.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
So here's the comparison I would make. First of all,
I've never thought that.
They were on an 18 and under team, one of the best 18 and under teams of all time. Volpe was the number 3 hitter on that team, by the way. It had Pete Crow Armstrong, Riley Green, C.J. Abrams, Corbin Carroll. That team was so good, Gunnar Henderson didn't make it, right? They went to Panama and they won the tournament. They never lost a game. They were in the same draft together. Witt was 2. He was 30, Volpe. Volpe was 30 because everyone thought he was committed to Vanderbilt and wasn't going to sign a contract. He would. He grew up loving the Yankees. But more important, Witt had a first season with the Royals that reminded me in 2022 a little bit of the 2023 Volpe. There was a lot to like. Homers, stolen bases, but there were it was rough. Like Volpe had a lot of strikeouts, low batting average. And then Witt in year 2 last year blew up and became the tentpole for the Royals. They signed him to that big contract, $288 million. Volpe looks like he has kind of sharpened his game. He's now walking as much as he struck out. And I'll say this, they moved him into the leadoff spot 5 games ago. He's walked 5 times. He's struck out once. He's hitting about 350 with a 500 on-base percentage in front of Soto and Judge. The one thing you don't want to do is walk anyone, and his at-bats are still so good that he's drawing walks in front of them. I wonder if he's now the number 1 hitter for a long time in that lineup in front of those 2 guys. I wonder if we're seeing a Witt-like blossoming with Volpe.
Oh, wow, that is quite the statement. Yankees at the top of the East, those 2 guys, big reasons why. I stole your pen, Joel Sherman,
Yes.
and I'm keeping it.
Uh-oh.
Thank you.
I consider it a gift.
Appreciate the time. I'll charge you.
a speed bump on the front.